Hey everyone, and welcome to Crunching Your Growth. I'm Phil Masiello, entrepreneur, brand builder, and founder of Crunch Growth, a revenue acceleration agency that's been helping brands scale profitably for over 12 years. Now, before we jump in, let me get straight with you. There's a lot of so-called coaches and marketing experts out there. They've never actually built anything themselves. They're just reading from someone else's playbook and not their own. But that's not me, and that's not this show. So I've built and scaled 3 successful startup brands. I've exited companies. I've lived the grind of launching, scaling, pivoting, winning, and losing. And today, my team and I help brands, real brands, grow every single day across e-commerce, retail, and emerging digital platforms. But we don't just teach theory, we write the books on it. So when you listen to this show, you're not just getting advice from me and other entrepreneurs, you're getting real world experience, lessons learned in the trenches, wins, losses that shape the playbook that we use to help brands thrive. So if you're serious about scaling and about doing the work that it takes to build something that lasts, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. Because tonight we have a powerhouse guest, Pasha Knish, CEO of AMZ Optimized. Pasha is a true Amazon veteran, and I know we have a ton of Amazon brand builders, Amazon sellers out there who watch the show. And with over 13 years of selling experience and a proven track record of building and managing 8-figure brands, he's here to share the real strategies behind scaling smarter on Amazon, balancing hardcore data with the human side of e-commerce. So if you're looking to accelerate your growth on Amazon, you won't want to miss this conversation. So let's get into it and let's bring Pasha in. Pasha, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So Amazon, tough nut to crack, getting harder every day.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So I know you've been on it a long time. So have I. I've talked about it on this show. We haven't really had many Amazon brand builders on the show. But why don't you take us back, give us a little history into yourself, how you got started, what you did before, because you certainly didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be an Amazon brand builder, right? Something led up to it. So,
Oh yeah, there was a sequence of events. I mean, like you mentioned, I've been doing this over a decade, and I'm a pretty young guy, so I've been pretty much doing this since I was in college. I had a couple buddies. We started selling on eBay, just some generic stuff. Our friend had like an eBay selling account with some limits on it. He had more stuff than he knew what to do with, so he said, "Hey guys, on like a Saturday night, instead of going out to the movies or going to hang out, whatever, just let's do some eBay. Let's learn entrepreneurship. Let's get serious, right?" So we said, okay. We started selling on eBay. It was working out, but we saw it was slow because you have like this account limitation, and there's the margins were kind of slim on these generic goods. So then eventually we found out about Amazon. This was back in 2011 or some 2012, and we saw like, wow, this is a model that's actually designed for volume, unlike eBay, which is like one listing at a time.
yeah.
So we're just like, this is an accelerated version of e-commerce. And it was the early days. Like there was, you just send Google ads, if you knew even how to do that. Like you send Google ads to your listing and then you get sales. There's no attribution, there's no nothing, right? So we started selling those generic goods. We had a couple issues with that, so we said, okay, we need something a little bit better that's not like one of one type goods, but something that we can do like a brand, right? So at the time we were selling rechargeable battery cases. We said, why don't we take the top guy, it's like a known brand, and we're gonna find their product in China and basically sell it for half price or even less. And that's what we did, and it started moving, right? And we think, oh my god, we're geniuses. So I got the brilliant idea. You know what? I'm going to drop out of college, and I'm going to be the first one to go full time. And so my friends were like, "Are you sure, man? You need your degree." It's like, I come from an immigrant family, so you have to get your degree. You got to do it by the book, like every immigrant family has their
Yeah.
playbook, right? So I was the first one to be like, "Nope, I'm sorry." I was like in my last semester of college, studying for a philosophy degree, and I thought, all right, am I going to get this philosophy degree? Maybe I can become a lawyer. Maybe I can become a teacher, or maybe I can become an entrepreneur. And so, of course, what did I do? Right. I dropped out, uh, started working full time. My friends saw the growth that happened as a result of me just focusing fully on that business. And they dropped out too. We got an office space and we just, we built it to 7 figures like a year after that. So at that point, I exited and I started my own brand and I started doing some freelance work on the side. In the meantime, I tried many different businesses. Not everything worked out. KDP and all this other stuff that Amazon throws at you, like, you try this, try this. I thought I wanted to build like a KDP empire at that time. It didn't work out. I still have those books, by the way. They drip like $20 a month each into my account for the last 7 years. It's
Yeah.
okay. It pays for some ice cream or whatever. So, um, yeah. So I started my own brand, and while you're building a brand, you don't always have enough cash flow to live on it and grow the company. So I said,
Sure.
okay, let me do a little bit of freelancing. I know how to grow businesses on this platform in particular is my specialty. And I went on some of these freelance platforms, and there was not many agencies. There were a few service providers. So I was one of the early people to start offering that as a service. It was kind of like an undiscovered thing, before a lot of these gurus popped up who just, like, they kind of pump them out now in different places. They have these courses and everybody calls himself, right? So so I started doing
Well,
it. And
we've had to clean up that mess after we've had plenty of brand owners who've come to us and said, "Oh, I took this course, but it's not working. How much? I paid $10,000, but
of
none of the
course.
information they gave me." Like, why? Why'd you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. I mean, like, YouTube at some point was flooded with this like get rich quick schemes, or like saying that Amazon is like the way to like retire your family and everything,
Yeah,
So
now it's on Meta. Now it's on Facebook. You see
yeah,
those ads all day long.
yeah, exactly. So I started doing some freelance work and taking on projects. And to be honest with you, I'm not a great designer. I'm not a great writer. I don't know graphic design. I mean, I can do basic things. There's people out there that are much better than me. But what I am great at is strategy, team building, and understanding what it takes in order to grow a company.
Right.
So I took the skills that I do have and hired for the skills that I don't have. And so I started taking on these projects, and through little by little I started building a team. And so fast forward 6 years later, here we are. And I have a full service agency that helps Amazon sellers. We're building tools where we have lots of partners in the space. I have a podcast dedicated to agency owners and Amazon sellers. So yeah, I'm pretty deep in it. I pretty much have done this my entire career.
It's a great story. I mean, I'm way familiar with Amazon. We started selling in 2006. We were one of the with beauty brand that we had. We were one of the first brands outside of book CDs, music, DVDs, and all that to go on the platform. And it was a totally different world. It was a bit easier, you know, to get things done. There were some things that you could do that you can't do anymore. Um, you know, in reaching out to customers and that type of thing. But it was a great platform for us. Crunch Growth. We we're trying to move away from managing Amazon accounts. I don't mind doing the advertising. I don't mind doing the connected TV ads on Fire TV and all that. But it's just so difficult today. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. We have a brand that we've been working with for close to a decade. Big brand. It's one of the largest hot sauce brands, and they and I mean they're FBA, and it's to the point where you're paying 15% listing fee. You're paying They're paying an 18% FBA fee because for some reason a 3 pack of 15 ounces of hot sauce in a small little box got to be a large oversized package. I don't know how. So they're paying 18%. Then on top of that, we're good at advertising, but we're not, we can't get below say 15, 14% of sales, right? And even though we're getting a great return, but it's still X percent of sales. And when you add it all up, and then you got inbound freight going in, and then you've got the money that they charge you to disperse the inventory to all those other FCs around the country, I mean, you're in for almost 70%. And so you've really got to have a product that has about a 90% going in gross profit,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And that opportunity is very hard to find these days. And I'll tell you, like, for people who are looking to start a new company, it doesn't just fall from the sky. Like, hire a sourcing agent for $1,000 out of China, and or something like that. Like, these cheap ways to launch a company don't work anymore. You truly have to build a brand, and not just on Amazon, although that's what I do. I always tell people, like, you can't just rely on this platform
No.
alone. You have to really build a brand, and that means social media, and that means D2C, and that also means build a moat around yourself. Like, this is what all these acquisition people, if you go to get your business bought, or go to a broker, they're going to tell you, what's your moat? And that's what all the buyers want to know. What's going to make you sticky? What's going to make sure that when I buy this business, it's not going to fall apart in 2 years, that some competitor is just going to come in and take over? So these
Yeah.
are the things that you have to consider now. So even starting a business is difficult, then growing it, and then on top of it being profitable. I mean, it's like it's an uphill battle the whole way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's what we focus on. We're brand builders. We only work with brands. We never worked with resellers or just people with seller mentality. We've always been focused on working with brands. And I'll tell you my take on Amazon and how we use it and how I profess to use it. And it really started when we were in the shape. We had a shaving brand and we were in that business. I look at Amazon as a customer acquisition vehicle at this point. I don't look at Amazon as a place that I'm going to do huge amounts of sales anymore. I look at it as a convenience for the customer. They're going to hear about me or my brand somewhere, and the first place they're going to go and look to buy it is Amazon. And if it's available on Amazon and you have reviews, they're going to wind up making their first purchase there. But we try and then use techniques to get them back to the website because um, it's just too difficult to make a profit as far as I see, unless you have, like I said, unless you have a product with 90% gross margin,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. I have read a statistic recently that said that of the entire buyer journey, regardless of where it, ends, 90% start on Amazon. So it's important to be there. And I agree with you. Like, if you're looking at a lifetime customer value across all platforms, omni-channel, then I agree that breaking even or making a small profit on Amazon is worth pursuing, just because you make it up on
Oh yeah.
maybe a subscription on your website, or repeat purchase, or cross promotion, whatever.
Yeah, it's just like an acquisition channel. But it's funny you should say that. How many people start their journey. We actually did a study in 2018, 2017, 2018. We studied the behavior using attribution tags and things. We studied the behavior of customers looking at an ad on Google, or looking at an ad on the Meta World, or on the DSPs or wherever, and what that journey looked like. And we did a we did a whole article on it. And what it looked like at that point, at that time, was customer sees an ad, customer hears about your product, however they hear about it, PR, whatever. And the first thing they do is go to your website. And they look at your website and they want to see if you're actually for real or if
Yeah.
you're like a scam. And then they go and look at your social media. And what they're looking for is, do they match up? And that takes about, less than a minute for them to do that.
Hmm.
And then they determine at that point in time whether they want to pursue it. And then they go to Amazon to make that first purchase for obvious reasons, right? They know they're not going to get their credit card information stolen. They know that they got an A to Z guarantee. They know that if they have a problem, they can return it. So it's low risk to buy from Amazon. And that's really where the benefit comes in. Where the challenges come in is in profitability. But when you're building brands, and if you can protect your brand and not allow other resellers to come in, then you got a better chance of really keeping the profitability there.
Yeah, and that's why private label is so important, right? Another reason that, like, working with as a reseller is so difficult. Like, I don't work with resellers either, because this whole price war to the bottom just doesn't make sense to me.
And that's what these idiots are pitching today on
Yeah,
Meta, and people
right.
fall for it. We'll give you the product, we'll set up your Amazon account, we'll do the whole thing for you. Yeah, they want to do that because they can't make any money doing it themselves. They just want to sell you the product. They're wholesalers. It's amazing that people fall for it. And I think to myself, think about it logically. If 20 sellers are out there selling Crest toothpaste, right, and Procter and Gamble is out there selling the Crest toothpaste, or Colgate, or whoever sells Crest toothpaste, then who do you think? Who do you think's going to win that? The
Yeah,
consumer's going to win it because the price is going to drive down. You're not going to win it. You don't have any, you know.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I've heard so many horror stories about those types of scams, I'll call them. Like they're just looking for their exit liquidity on this wholesale stuff, and then at the end they just kind of disappear. And people were like, we had a client like that. That
Yeah.
he just came to us. He's like, oh, I paid this guy's like, I don't know, $150,000, and all he was left with was a brand selling a Chinese product that guy sold to 10 other customers for the same thing, right? So he made all this money basically opening up brands of the same product variation. It was nothing unique.
No.
And then he disappeared. And then the company closed.
Yeah.
So
A guy came to us about a year ago. He had this brand of um, nutraceutical gummies. Right.
mhm,
They all had a purpose. Right. And I looked at it, and they were shaped like bears.
mhm,
And I said, okay, what's different about it? We're looking at Amazon. There's 15 guys out there that are selling the exact same product.
right,
Yeah, I buy it from the same manufacturer
right,
in California. I'm like, so what do you want us to do? Well, I'm building a brand. You're not building a brand. You think people are that stupid? They're going to look at this and say, I can buy this one for $1 less. And he's struggling today. He can't, we don't get
yeah,
it. We just can't get involved with that because I can't make, I'm going to wind up getting the phone calls, or my people are going to wind up getting the phone calls every week. The sales aren't there, the ads aren't working. Yeah, because you have no point of difference. You're
mhm,
selling the same stuff that everybody else is.
yeah,
All you
yeah,
did was put it in a different package. So,
yeah. I mean, at that point, you're just grasping at whatever, right? Like in order to differentiate, make the branding a little nicer, right? Like your competitors might not have a video on their page, but is that enough really to get by long term? No.
not when you have the exact same product, the exact same ingredients with the exact same shape, right? They're all
Yeah.
bears because this company makes everything shaped like a bear. The gummy shaped like a bear. No, if you have the idea and you want to go into that business, then do it yourself. Take it, go to another manufacturer and say, this is what I want, and work with them, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just taking the easy way.
Yeah. You think if it was shaped like a penguin, it would be any different?
No. No, but you could come up with something more functional, something that's something that's not out there, something that solves a problem that exists. But
Yeah, that's what I was recommending to somebody recently is like go into the reviews, look at use AI. There's so many tools out there. Use AI, look at all the reviews from the top listings and see what people are complaining about
yeah,
and then fix that problem and then launch that product and be a little bit cheaper if you
yeah,
can. There you go. I mean, that's a very simple way to put it, but that's what you do. Another thing is focus on focus on things which require a lot of compliance. Like I have a client, they are in the gardening space. So they are required to have and maintain certain paperwork for every state of the country. So they have a guy dedicated on their team to just do all this 50 state paperwork nonstop. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody has
right,
the who wants to deal with this. And so as a result, they have eliminated like almost all of their competitors.
yeah. High
So
barrier to entry,
yeah,
sure.
there you go. So high barrier to entry, there's your moat. So those are a couple ideas, but they require more time, more effort, more money, more everything. So a lot of people, that's another thing, is like a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. They're looking for the next quick one.
Well, yeah, everybody thinks it's easy, and everybody wants they want the next bright shiny thing because this guy said it was easy to make money. Well, it's not easy. It's never been easy. I don't know. Been doing this a long time, and I've never had an easy way to build a brand, easy way to start a business. I've never had an easy way to do any of it.
Yeah.
And the easy routes generally blow up in your face. So
Yeah. I mean, you were sharing this is of this show. This is episode 202, right? I mean, that's 4 years every single week consistency. That's how you get there. Is just be consistent. And we were talking a little bit earlier, maybe before the show, a little bit about failure. And I mean, right? Like, why do we fail? Because we try, right? If you never tried, you wouldn't fail. But man, I mean, for every success in my life, I haven't lived that long. I'm in my early 30s, but for every success, I mean, I have 10 failures to show for it. I had a halal cart in New York City. We wanted to convert it into a crep cart
yeah,
in on Broadway, and we got approached by the Egyptian mafia, and because we didn't know that everybody has their corner. There's a whole system
oh
over there,
yeah, yeah,
and then I was buying wholesale like from liquidation sites and trying to resell on eBay, and just ended up with all this stuff. I used to, like I've tried many different business models, and every single time I learned something important. So that's kind of how you get there. But if consistency, just keep going.
Well, I mean, we've talked to every entrepreneur that's come on this show, anybody who's ever built anything. We've had some people that have had spectacular brands that you would know that are national brands on the show and talking about how they got there. And not one person has ever said, yeah, it was my first time out and it was a success. Nobody. They all say, well, I failed at this, I failed at this, I failed at this. And I'm no exception. I was speaking in February at this entrepreneur conference, and I got up on stage and I said, that was my opening was, I founded 10 businesses. And then I pause, and people start going, wow, 10 businesses. Wow. And then I go, yeah, but only 4 are successful. The other 6 were utter failures.
Yeah.
My first one was a complete disaster. But when I look at them, the reason that I was a failure at them always came down to, with the exception of the first one, the other ones came down to the fact that I got myself involved in something that I really had no business being in. I didn't understand the fundamentals of the business. And so I understood the customer, but I didn't understand the fundamentals. And if you don't understand the economics and the fundamentals, you're just not going to be successful. I don't care how good you are at marketing and advertising. It's just not going to happen. And every time we've been successful, it's because we were in businesses that we understood, right from the get-go. We understood the economics of it. We understood the customer. We understood how to make transactions go. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, it's just about getting up and trying, and yeah, of course, like you have to be kind of in the know. But how do you get in the know in the first place?
Well, for me, most of the businesses I was in, I grew up in the food business. I grew up in restaurants and such in New York, and and then I went to college and I worked in restaurants and hotels down in Miami. And I always thought my path was going to be to open a restaurant. But then when I was in college and working in those places, I thought, man, this is just not a good lifestyle. You're getting out of work at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then what do you do? There's nothing but trouble that you're going to get into,
Sure.
and then you're not getting home till 5 or 6 in the morning, and then you start all over again. It's not a good lifestyle. So, but I did like food, and so I built a food retail store. But the thing that hurt me about it, I was young, but I wasn't a good leader at that time, and I wasn't a good manager of process, and so it was always a scattered mess every day in the store, and we were busy, and it was a disaster every single day, and I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I just got exhausted, and I couldn't pull it together, and I just it wasn't good. And that was my first failure, first disaster. But it was really it was a failure of leadership and a failure of process. I understood the economics, I understood the business, I understood the customers, but I wasn't as good at managing that I thought I was,
Yeah.
and that was a bit tough. But
Yeah. And another thing I'll say also is, like, time is limited. So if you spread yourself too thin, then you won't be able to do anything successfully, because you're just like, I have that issue too. Like, you kind of bite off more than you can chew, or your plate's too full. And that's not necessarily because you don't have enough time. Maybe you don't have enough resources, right? You don't have the proper cash flow. You don't have the proper management of team, people. Something is just not aligned. So you're just trying to do too many things, and then nothing is really picking up. So sometimes you actually just have to trim the fat a little bit and just focus on the thing that's working best. And so I've recently had to do that. And I did I've launched 3 brands during COVID with different partners. And most of them didn't work out. And the reason why was, there was an opportunity and an opening during COVID. I looked at the data, I looked at everything. It looked perfect, right? By the time I found the suppliers, then there was delays, about COVID, right? You mentioned that you launched a brand during that time too, and so there was all these logistical problems that started to come up, and by the time you solve all of them, and the supplier for the tin containers are in South America, and they're not, and then the labels, and then this guy, so there's so many parts to it. By the time we went to market, by the time we got launched, now the market has changed.
right.
So by the time you get to the end, it's like you're in a different place, and
Yeah.
so you're just like, what am I supposed to do now? Then you try to pivot, and then it's like, okay, we need another round of funding. Do we do it? Doesn't make sense.
No.
Like, no,
Yeah.
let it, cut it loose. That's it.
Yeah. My issue with the first business was I was doing too much, but not because I didn't have the resources. I was doing too much because I wasn't developing processes. I wasn't leading people and developing processes to say, this is how we do it.
Yeah,
And I was just like, I'm too frustrated. Don't worry, I'll take care of it.
yeah, yeah.
And it just wasn't good. And so, but hey, I sold it, and that's what I came down to Maryland, and I got involved in another company, which helped me out a lot. We actually have a question.
Mhm.
What do you think is the biggest challenge on Amazon today?
I think the biggest challenge on Amazon is visibility. And so, the first thing that you want to do when you launch is you need revenue. I think a lot of
Right.
people, they want profit from day one, and they give up ad spend, they give up their visibility to generate rank, to generate that growth. So the first thing you do is you set up a listing that converts. Then you put eyeballs on that listing, and then if it's a consumable, that's great. You can do subscribe and save. You
Sure.
get repeat customers, increase the lifetime value of that customer. But you don't want to just like, oh, I have to have these metrics in order for me to be profitable from day one. It's okay to lose a little bit of money in the beginning. That's why I say it's a very competitive pay to play environment. So yeah, push the ads, get some revenue. Then you can start cutting back, might raise the price a little bit. There's repricing tools out there that can help with, kind of measuring it up and down. But that's the number one issue.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of brands are hesitant. They think they're going to go out and be profitable from day one, and you think that the example I always use when I talk to brands about long term value and uh, spending money to get a customer. When you look at the cost of acquiring a customer, now again, we're more focused on the global e-commerce world, whether it's not just Amazon. So when you look at the cost to acquire a customer, let's just take personal care for example, which is beauty, shaving, all that. The cost to acquire a customer today is about $60, right? So and across the board. So so you have to be innovative and you have to figure out ways to get that cost of acquisition down. And so a perfect example is Harry's Razors. I don't know if you ever heard of those guys, but
No.
Harry's Razors. They run these ads every once in a while. They've been really did a spectacular job of scaling and growing a business. They have this set handle, two cartridges, and a little tube of shave cream. Okay, comes in a nice little box. They sell it for $5. They run ads, $5. Now, I know the business. I know it's probably costing them $5 to put that all together. It's probably costing them another $7 to ship it to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're losing on that first sale. It's 12. They're probably,
Yeah.
it's costing them $12. They're getting $5 in,
Okay.
right?
Loss leader.
Sure. But the reason they do it is because they know that once you get that, they're giving you extreme value. So you can't turn it down. It's no risk. $5. Almost everybody that sees the ad says there's got to be a catch, but there isn't. So they buy it, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's a garbage razor, $5. How bad could it be? But they know once they get you that the long term value of you is close to over $300. And your second purchase, your average sale is closer to $50 because now they've got a huge, it's not just about the razors. They've got tons of skincare for men and, tons of hair care products, etc. And then once they get you in that loop, so that $12 investment is
Well
nothing.
worth it.
You're well worth it. The problem you have on getting, but you can't get that through to people because they don't. Most brand owners, I don't. Even if they're doing 10 million, 15 million a year, 20 million, they're scaling. They don't understand they don't understand the long term value proposition and how to use that to get customers in. Right? If you're so confident in your brand, if you're so confident in your product, and you give it away to get that customer in, right? You can make money on that customer over a period of 3-4 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it pays for itself.
Yeah.
but it's always a struggle convincing brand owners of that, and getting them to invest heavily up front to say, you're right. You need visibility. You need people to see that product. How else are they going to find it? People think a lot of times people think, we put up a website, people are going to find it. How are they going to find the website? There's what, 35 million websites that come up every day. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of this marketing engine, right? It's like you get visibility. I mean, how much money does Amazon make from advertising dollars from their sellers compared to the fees that we, pay when we make a sale? Like, it's a lot. Like half of their business model is just selling advertising placements or
Sure.
selling real estate on their site. It's the same thing. All these big, like Facebook did the same thing, right? They grew Facebook, and then boom, ads once they get enough visibility, right? Then they're selling you awareness.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like you have to use these tools. The good news is on Amazon, there are tools and data and off Amazon too that allow you to see into that. So it's like if you're an educated marketer or you're working with somebody who has these tools and has this data to show you, then you can make these kind of decisions. So, for example, there's something called AMC. Some of you might have heard of that term. It's Amazon Marketing Cloud. It used to be this kind of weird thing that Amazon kind of gave you this data, but you would have to do all the processing yourself to make any sense of it. Now, there's ad tech that basically helps you to understand and map out what's going on with these audiences or with these campaigns and series of campaigns. So you have things like DSP, which is a type of advertising that Amazon gives you. It's a special seat that you can get through some of these ad tech partners. We have a seat, and basically you can use audiences that are outside of Amazon.com, but Amazon buys these placements in these different third-party sites, including their own properties like Alexa or all of those things and Prime TV, and so they'll resell you those placements and you're paying for visibility, and that's top of funnel. And then they'll come on to Amazon.com and see your video ad. That's another touch point. Then they'll go and they'll make a conversion on a sponsored product on a keyword search. And so you have a 3-time touch point until conversion. And then they buy again the next month, and that time they did subscribe and save. And so now you're seeing the entire funnel put together. And it's like, oh, wow, well, I paid a lot of money for that DSP sale. But then after all those touch points, I actually see that over the 12-month course of time, we have a much better lifetime value than the cost of acquisition. So you have all those metrics now to actually understand that.
Yeah. It's funny in the brand metrics side of it. Also, there's some good information in there about your customer turnover, your long term value, things like that. Which probably shows up in the marketing cloud as well. But
Mm-hmm.
demand side platforms, very powerful tools,
Absolutely.
not just on Amazon, just in general. I mean, we run a lot of connected TV ads, and we run them through demand side platforms, and on Fire TV as well. The good thing about it, what we found is if you do a good if you do a really good video of your product, really high quality, make it fun and entertaining and exciting, they convert very, very well on Fire TV because Amazon makes it easy for you to buy at that moment. And it's
Mm,
showing up on multiple devices, right? Not just your television. I mean, it shows up on your television if you're watching Fire TV there, or on your computer, or on your iPad, your phone, whatever it is. So, yeah, but you're right. You have to have some knowledge of how to do it. You have to read the stats. You have to read the information that's out there, and then you have to know what to do with it.
yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is why it's kind of difficult for smaller brands is like those types of setups require volume. Like you need volume for data to be accurate. You need large subsets of buyers and visibility into different audiences. So that's the other thing is for somebody new, you just need to provide revenue, get revenue, move the needle, and then you start having momentum. Then you can start implementing more advanced strategies. You have more metrics to work with, and you can grow from there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Somebody wants to know: do you think that Amazon is getting better or worse for brand builders and sellers?
I think Amazon is responding to the macro environment. I don't think that they're getting better or worse, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I think that they are doing the thing that they've always done, which is being a platform, being a logistics company, and they're just responding to, they're getting stuff from the FCC, so they're making compliance tighter. Their, cost of things are going up, so they're adjusting their costs to go with it. Like, people are like, oh my god, these new fees, can you believe it? Well, it's like they've been super cheap for a long time. So yeah, like, cost of oil went up a couple of years ago, so they raised the price for transport. So like, they're just responding like everybody. We all have to play the game, even with these tariffs. We just have to play the game. So to answer the question, I mean, I think Amazon is just Amazon. Yes, there's more sellers. Yes, you have to be smarter. But it's a survival of the fittest, like always.
There are more sellers, but what I find is there are more garbage sellers today
Yeah.
than there have been before, and which is an opportunity. It's not necessarily bad. It just depends on where you want to play, and you can always figure out how to outsmart a bad seller. But if you're selling if you're selling a brand and you've done your homework and there's a need for your brand and it's a unique product, then you're going to do fine. It doesn't matter where you go. You're going to do fine. You get that messaging out there. You use all the messaging tools you can, um, even if it's on social media. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a friend who's been on Amazon for decades, selling. He's got has a skincare product. He does, 8 figures a year religiously, but obviously, just like everybody, he's looking for ways to spend less money on ads and be more effective. And what he found was that he 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 recruits micro influencers on TikTok. And I'm giving away $1 million idea here, but I'm going to do it anyway. He recruits micro influencers on TikTok. He's got a VA in his that he uses, and their job is to get 100 micro influencers every month.
Hmm.
Gives them free product, and he'll give them maybe $50, but really they're happy with the free product because his product has a high value, high perceived value. And he wants those people making videos. So when people search for his product, he wants them to see a lot of people using the product and talking about it. And what he found is he told me he's got somewhere around 3,500 micro influencers now that basically work for free product that he's given free product to. And every time he launches a new group, his sales on Amazon go up. His sales on his website go up. Yes, he sells some on the TikTok shop and he sells some on the Meta shop, but his sales go up on Amazon. So what he started to do is use that as really his customer acquisition strategy, spending a little bit less on his advertising, keeps the advertising going. He's very sophisticated with it. He does a lot on the DSPs and things like that, but at the same time, he's trying to reduce his spend and get a higher ROAS, like we all are.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting, and he showed me some numbers, and it was pretty intriguing. And then I looked at I got interviewed about Ninja Kitchen, Shark Ninja, because they've sort of adjusted their selling strategy or their advertising strategy. And if you go, they've got these tremendous social media presence sites doing video with influencers, micro influencers, macro influencers. I mean, their pockets are a lot deeper than a lot of us, but they bring influencers up to their headquarters in Massachusetts. They show them the new air fryer, the new whatever, blender, whatever it is, and they give it to them and tell them to go back and make videos, right? And they don't have to pay for it because they just brought these people up, they fed them dinner, they treated them like kings, they gave them the product. They go back, these folks are banging out videos for them, and it's driving their sales.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So
makes sense. And
yeah,
it's a good idea because it's evergreen, right? It's like, those people, they post, it's there. That's it. With the paid ad, the downside, I mean, on Amazon you get a little bit of rank, right? But the downside to ads is that the sale is done, it's over,
yeah.
right? So it's like, it's nice to have both. It's like the whole SEO discussion. Should I do SEO or should I pay for ads? Like on your website. It's like, you pay for ads, when someone clicks, you lost your money. That's the end of the story if they don't convert. SEO, but SEO takes time. So you run both strategies, you balance it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, SEO, you have to SEO takes time. I don't care if it's what you consider Amazon SEO, which is really just optimizing your pages and things,
Right.
but you know, SEO takes a lot of time, but what drives SEO, what drives your ranking in the Google world higher than anything is more people searching for you. And so the more you can do, again, here getting the message out, getting people to view your product, getting people to see your short form content, long form content, YouTube videos, whatever it is. I mean, content is really what's driving SEO today, more so than just ranking for keywords.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, Amazon is a little bit different, right? You have to rank. You want to get your product ranking up as high as you possibly can,
Yeah.
which is
But it's
you
the
know
same thing. It's conversion rate. It's visibility. People searching for you.
sure,
Yeah, branded search, non-branded search. It's another thing is like a lot of people. This is what I see. Like sometimes surprisingly with large brands is they'll syndicate their content over to Amazon, knowing okay, yeah, everyone starts on Amazon. I got to be there. I don't really care about it. I'm not paying attention to it. So they'll syndicate. They'll use one of these softwares to get like their Shopify listing over to Amazon, or they'll get somebody on Fiverr to just like do like a basic job, not really pay attention to it. And you see like you have tools that they're making all of these branded sales. Like they have revenue just as a result of people out of simplicity, out of, it's just easy to buy stuff on Amazon. So they're searching for the brand name, but they're not taking any market share.
right,
Right. And so it's like you have the foundation. You're ahead of the game compared to most people. Most people, they start opposite. They'll get on Amazon as the first place that they list, and then they'll chase for market share, and nobody knows who they are. And here
yeah.
you have the opposite, and people are not taking advantage of it. So that's a big waste, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that even today, with as much information as out there, even if you're a novice and you say to yourself, "I want to go and start selling my brand on Amazon, and I'm going to do it myself," even if you just Googled how to do it, everybody's going to talk about how you structure an A+ page, how you structure your optimization for your pages, how you structure a title, things like that. And there's so many tools out there. Even if I mean, even Chat GPT, there's a GPT out there for building listings
Hmm.
for Amazon. So there's really no excuse anymore for having a crappy page, But there's so many people out there with just that. I mean, they just didn't do the work ahead of time to make sure that they have the right search terms in their title and their bullet points and their descriptions and their A+ pages on their store, etc. So
Yeah, well, I'm actually releasing a tool. We have a V2 coming out. Basically, people plug in a couple different sheets. We give instructions on how to get all this data. Takes like a few minutes, and then we run it through an AI processor that gives you all of the valid values for your subcategory in the back end. So I'll take a step back. So people, they do a listing on Amazon and they only do the title, bullet points, description, A+, all that stuff, whatever you see, and then all that information that's in the back end, right? All of these, for example, I sell shampoo. Is it a gel or is it a liquid? Is it, what kind of hair type is it for? Who is
right,
it, for ladies or for kids or whatever? They don't care about that.
right,
But that's what Amazon uses to classify you. There's people who shop by those filters.
yeah,
So
yeah,
why would you? And then people, they just put whatever they want in there. They just have a VA, just like keyword stuffing, right? No, you need valid values. There's something called a browse tree guide. Amazon gives you the blueprint, and when you're in there, it gives you the drop down. So we built a tool basically that looks at your specific backend for your subcategory, the category that you're in, and it'll pull all of that, pull all of the valid values, pull the top relevance and top search volume keywords, spin it all together, and give you a sheet. And you look at the sheet, make sure it's 100%. Chat GPT makes mistakes sometimes, but we've gotten it pretty close, and you just copy paste it over and boom, right? You give it to your VA or you do it yourself. Most people don't do this, they don't care about it. So we're just trying to make it easier for people. And I really feel like this will help you for free, help your SEO, because like with this new, you've heard of like Cosmo and Rufus and all of this intent based search that Amazon's rolling out. This is becoming bigger and more important by the day, because Amazon knows more about you. They have, I was walking through Whole Foods and I see like, they have the palm reader and they probably have cameras there. Like, they know my account. So it's like they have so much information. They know what I watch, they know what I eat, they know how I shop, they know when I sleep. So okay, they have all of this data. Now when I go into Amazon and I said, hey, I need a new pair of running shoes, they probably know what color, what size, and what brand I like. And so they're going to show me that, not like 5 years ago where it's just like whatever is the best product for that keyword. So as this becomes more important, being classified by Amazon is getting more important than just keyword stuffing and being like ranked number one for this particular thing. Like all of those like tricks and hacks and like, search, find, buy tactics, all that stuff from the past is kind of going away. And so I see this as a great opportunity. That's why I'm kind of building that tool.
No, I would agree with you. Intent is such a strong, again, taking a step back, we do a tremendous amount of work on DSPs because we do connected TV ads. And that's the beauty of why connected TV ads convert so well, is because exactly what you just said. You're logged into Netflix. Netflix knows who you are. They knew everything that you watched before, so they have a profile of you. Right? More than likely, somehow, somewhere, um, you know, it's probably linked up with something else that knows more about you. Amazon, when you're running TV ads on Fire, Amazon definitely knows about you, and they know what you like and what you don't like. And so when you put in the parameters of what you're looking for to target with your ad, and as long as you make great creative that with the right message, and the creative is really important, and you have to have the right message and you have to get it across in a really specific way because you've only got 30 seconds. You got a high chance of converting because then what you're doing after that, when people who see it, you're retargeting them with ads all day long. So now that's why the conversion rate is so high on connected TV today
Hmm.
because you're going after exactly who you want. You know, if you and I were in the same room, you had your computer, I had my computer, we were both logged into Netflix, we were both watching the exact same thing, you and I would see two different ads.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like, you ever have a conversation with somebody, you say, "Oh, I want to fly to Nebraska." And then you pick up your phone a few
Yeah, yeah,
minutes later, it's like an ad for a Nebraska flight.
yeah,
So you're like, how does that happen? Where
yeah,
where
yeah,
did I give them permission to do that?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's the same thing. I mean, like these big services, not even a question anymore. People are like calling it Big Brother some time back, and now it's like it's a given. And
yeah,
they're using AI to crunch the data like hard and know exactly every single thing.
yeah,
So it's the connected world that we live in.
yeah, 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 yeah. It is the connected world we live in. Um, so we're pretty much starting to run out of time. So we got to wrap things up a little bit. Um, so what what's your take on the future for Amazon?
I think
Still
I'm
bullish on it? You
Yeah,
bullish?
yeah, I'm bullish AMZ for sure. Um, I think there's always gonna, like I said, Amazon's gonna do what they do, but commerce has to continue.
Yeah,
It's one of those things that AI cannot disrupt too much. They can disrupt creative, they can disrupt ads. People will always need to buy stuff. So
yeah. I think you're right. People always need to buy stuff. I do think though um, that things are going to personally, I think things are going to slow down a little bit because um, I do think that the what's going on with pricing and tariffs and the uncertainty, I think people are starting to pull back a little bit.
but is that
And
Amazon only or is that
no, I
e-commerce?
think everywhere, retail, brick and mortar, Amazon, everybody.
Yes.
Well, I think Amazon's going to feel the pinch the least because generally, when you look, um, at certain categories, especially key categories, Amazon's always the cheapest. You start looking
Yeah.
at household goods, you start looking at kitchen appliances, anything like that. Anything that's a necessity, you can generally find it on Amazon for less money.
And also they incentivize their sellers to stay in stock, stay selling because you don't want to lose rank in
No,
the
you don't want to
future.
lose rank.
So everybody's incentivized to just keep the thing running, no matter, like, try to like shut one eye and just keep going and then wait. So I think most sellers are kind of in that predicament. Obviously, everyone is feeling that crunch, but it's a macro thing. And honestly, I think it's not a bad thing that we're going through this shift on a macro level. And it's sort of like it's like a COVID again in a way, right? I look at it that way, where there's some silver linings throughout this.
What's the silver lining?
I mean, I think when you slow down, it gives a chance for the economy to just reset a little bit. Like if somebody were to believe that we were headed towards a recession or we're in a minor recession, then a little slowdown helps things to just kind of cool off a little bit. Maybe inflation can cool down a little bit. Maybe the Fed can loosen a little bit, and then things get stimulated again. I mean, that's my take.
I don't want to get into I don't want to get into this discussion, but I have a master's in economics, and I disagree with you, but that's just
Okay.
my opinion. I think we're heading for higher inflation with a recessive economy, and I don't think that this was handled correctly. I do agree with you that sometimes slowing down is a good thing, but um, I do think though that the big winner, uh, because when you think about it, Timu and what do you call it? We're um, really doing a really taking a bite out of things, and they had an unfair advantage
Yeah.
because they really did.
And now they're getting 100% tariff on all their
Yeah.
imports.
So I think that in that case, they've gotten sort of a wake up call, and so there's no real advantage there because I wasn't a big fan of that.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some silver light. That's one example. I don't like all this cheap garbage coming into the
Yeah.
U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't want to see, like, I see like kids just buying cheap stuff or just families. Cheap stuff is okay, but I want to support the U.S., for example, and sometimes with cheap stuff there comes other things, because like to make a sink that costs $17, or like a faucet, like what happens in China, like if you're talking about like the cost of oil, the cost of material, the cost of labor, like there's some like really cheap labor. Anyway, I think like that's just my take. Having cheap stuff is not always the best. Like
No,
there's
I agree
truth
with you
behind it.
about that. I wasn't a big fan of Timu and that whole model. I didn't like it. My kids bought some stuff from there and it was garbage, and
Yeah.
it's an unfair advantage, and that I think we definitely needed to put a stop to because that's just not going to help anybody. And they were growing too fast because of TikTok and because of social media. But it really was crap. I mean, it was garbage. And so now, yeah, there's price parity, so there's no real advantage anymore for them, which is fine, right?
Hmm.
But I think it'll be interesting to see where this all shakes out.
Let's see.
So
Let's see. You think we're going into recession? That's
I
fine.
do, I
Yeah.
do.
I think we were going, and that's why a slowdown might result in a little bit of quantitative easing from the Fed, which will hopefully stimulate the economy once again. So who knows?
Maybe,
Let's see.
maybe. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see soon enough, my man. We'll see
Yeah.
soon
This
enough.
year for sure.
Yeah. So that about wraps up today's episode of Crunching Your Growth. A huge thank you to Pasha for coming on and bringing some serious insights on what it takes to win on Amazon. And if you found value in today's show, make sure to subscribe to us and follow us, and leave a review and share it with anyone. And how do they get in touch with you?
amzoptimize.com. You can also check out my LinkedIn. Just type my name, Pasha Knish. Pasha at amzoptimize.com. Any of those will work. And also, if anybody wants to check out that free tool that I'm putting together, you can contact me. I can send you the link, but we just published. It's amzbrain.ai, and you can do /waitlist to get on the waitlist. We haven't launched it yet.
amzbrain.ai.
Brain, yeah, amzbrain.ai. Yeah,
I'd like to check it out.
yeah,
It sounds
yeah. We
interesting.
need some early testers before it becomes a paid tool. So
amzbrain.ai.
yeah, /waitlist at the moment, and then the homepage will go live soon.
So there you have it, folks. Go and try it out. I know we have a lot of Amazon sellers on there, so it's got to help. I agree with you about the back end. All those little areas that you don't think about; those are all important areas. So if this can help, it'll help.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you for being on again, and we'll
Thank you
see
for
you
having me.
next. We'll see you next week.